David, when you left, we lost sound. Brandon, can you hear me? Brandon, 1, 2, 3, 4.
I can hear you. I just turned my audio off. That's why it went away.
Okay, because we hear no audio down the stream.
Yeah, I'm not playing anything right now.
Got it.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I already said all this, but you couldn't hear me because I was muted. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, everyone. Turn on those cameras. Say hi. Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Ray. How's it going?
It's going well, David. Nice to have
Good,
you hosting
good,
today.
good,
We're looking
good.
forward to this.
Oh, yeah. There's a big, well, to me at least, a big release coming on the 12th. I don't know if you guys saw the notes, but there are a couple things in there I'm really excited about. And I didn't catch the tail end of last week's when we were doing all the breakout room stuff. I didn't catch the very tail end of that, but that was good stuff. We were really digging deep in there. Hey, Joni and Dave, Laura, good to see you. Robert, and Robert, sound monitor. Tony, my man, and Brandon. All right, cool. Robert, you're on camera this week. Well, that's a treat. We didn't get to see you last week.
I know, because we had a
Super
big,
secret.
it was a big event that we were interpreting in the studio, and our NDA was so strict. I just didn't want to risk switching on
Really?
anything. So,
Are you allowed to say who the show was for?
no.
Okay.
These are these corporate events. You're just not allowed to say anything. So
Yeah.
it's,
That's fantastic. Good.
but I've been playing with lots of toys, just to let you know, because the sound monitor that you saw, the second device, I have some tools here that I am using to monitor the different channels of the interpreting. So,
oh, wow.
So that's the new toy that we're playing with.
Nice. Hey,
Yeah.
Joni, how are you?
Good. This is my first time here. I'm so thrilled because I am in charge of Zoom for a couple of organizations, and nobody wants to like play with me, you know?
Oh, here we go. You're in the right
Like,
place, Joni.
this is like, and that's really the only way to do it, you know? And then I'm off duty, so I don't have my green screen pulled. I'm like, you know, this is low key because when I'm on, I'm teching a lot of things and I facilitate a lot of things. And right now I'm off duty, so I'm not. I know that it looks better with the green screen, but
Well, thank you. You're welcome to be off duty here, and thank you, Hasmuk, for the meters. If you all are want to sort of be in line with audio wise, we want to kind of hover around 22 to 24. That's 24 is sort of the sweet spot. So if you have control over that and you're talking, I want to encourage you to take a look at that. Go ahead, Joni.
I don't know what that means.
Yes, thank you. So if you are in gallery view, actually I'll go ahead and I will spotlight
I
for
catch
you.
on quickly, so.
Oh, wait, wait. Go ahead, Hasmuk. Do you want to explain it to us? No? Okay. Can you throw the meters back up so I can explain what they are? Great. So there you see the meter. So you see the number on the left that's moving, hovering 22, 24, 25. That is how loud we are. And so sort of in this community and others, we always try and hit around 24 or so after with sustained speech. So it will jump around a little bit. You can see I'm hopping between 21 and 26, it looks like. But
So on my end, I have, you know, audio settings, mic. So is that going to move? Like now I'm going to move it down. Does it move down? No, I don't.
So you just got very soft.
Okay.
And now if you keep talking, you can watch those meters and then, yeah.
This is maximum, and I've been told don't put it on max. Put it about, whoa, I see it's in the red. About 85, 90%. Is this better? No, it's still in the red. Wow. Okay, so. Wow.
You're about there. You're getting there. Yeah.
So it's actually like 80%. Like,
Remember, it's an inverse. It's reversed in numbers. So if the number's low, you're high, and vice versa.
okay, but is this good? Usually I just ask other people, you know, like we do sound checks before. So I don't have that tool that you have, but we
Sure.
do it.
So no, you sound great. So this is there are a couple of different versions of this. There's WLM meters, which is what we're using here. There's also one called, what's the Mac app? I have it on my computer. I just forget what it's called. Ulean, YOULEAN. If you just route your audio into either one of those, or if you have the WLM meters join a Zoom meeting and then make sure that you're routing all the Zoom audio into that, then you can kind of make sure that everyone's about on the same level. So it's a good tool to have, really good tool to have. Thank you, Hasmukh, for sending that in there, and he's going to attend to the family. Appreciate that. Hey, Frank, how's it going? Good to see you.
Good,
Tony. So, all right. So can I just, I don't know if you all saw the release notes for what's coming up, but there are a couple things in here I am super excited about. I don't want to, I mean, we can do whatever, we can troubleshoot, we can play, but maybe I'll just sort of set the stage for us with by looking at some of these show notes. So, this is due for release on the 12th, which is that Sunday? No, it's Monday. So we've got a few things up here. Zoom Mesh, if you're using to reduce internet bandwidth. Annotation Discover, but this I thought was kind of interesting. So it is not simple, at least for me, if you are sharing a screen and you want people to be able to annotate on it. It's not obvious how people can enable annotation. So apparently they're making that a little more accessible. You'll have something in the bottom left corner of shared content.
It's like a pencil icon.
In the new one or now? Or
in the new one.
In the new one? Great. Are you on the...
I get preview notes. They're pretty detailed with pictures and stuff. I just can't talk about them until Zoom puts these out on the public website. So I've been keeping my mouth shut for a month.
David, you're muted.
Oh, I'm an idiot. Sorry. So my apologies. Thank you, Frank, for that. And I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I'm sorry about that. So the next thing is, this is really interesting. Speaker attributions for live automated captions. So if I go in right now to, where is it? Show captions. I have turned on live transcript. So there we go. So now I have it on. This is a user, as I understand it, this is user enabled. So you have to turn it on for yourself. But so in the upcoming release, you'll be able to see the person's profile picture as part of the captions to make it easier to understand who's currently speaking. That's nice. If they have no profile picture, their initials will be displayed. And then and then full name goes into the full transcript. That's really nice to know who's speaking.
Yeah, we started to test this feature for like taking notes at meetings, not public events, just meetings. And like, we didn't know who said what, so we stopped using it. Plus it's kind of amusing when it's inaccurate, but it's not helpful.
Right. Fair enough. But as a tool for, accessibility, even if it's not precise, I think it's very, very important. Mm-hmm. Temporarily disable automated captions. I'm not sure why you would want to do that. Can disable automatic during a live meeting or webinar. This can be useful when the host forgets to disable captions from the web setting and wants to disable them for a meeting. Are captions automatically, if you turn them on in the back end, do they automatically start? Why would you not want? No, they don't.
Depends how you're running your Zoom. An account administrator for an organization can turn things on for every meeting that's ever scheduled, and then they can lock or leave it unlocked depending on what they want to do for the organization. Or they can leave it in the off position and unlocked and allow users to decide for themselves. And then users can go into their account settings and enable or disable something so that it'll be persistent in every meeting you schedule. So let's say you turn that on for every meeting you schedule, but for one meeting you decide you don't want them for some reason. I don't know what that reason would be. then you could disable them for that particular meeting.
Gotcha.
But doesn't that just make them available if the user switches them on? I haven't seen a setting that sort of switches them on automatically during the meeting.
I think if you go to your settings and then and then meetings, and then down the left-hand side, find the appropriate area, you could probably auto-enable them for everything you do. I'd have to look, but I think that's usually the way Zoom works.
I've seen it auto-enable for the meeting, but I haven't seen auto-enable when the meeting starts so that they come up for all the participants.
Yeah, I think that's still the viewer, if you want to call them, or participant, probably has to make that final selection themselves.
Joni, can I just ask you a quick question on the same topic? When you said you saw mistakes and funny mistakes coming up, could you just give us the vocabulary generally, or the group, or the type of words, or the vertical market, as you'd call it in a technical world?
It was general. I mean, we do have our own lingo, so we don't expect those words, you know, like it's like, you know, when you're texting and you use the microphone, you know, just on your phone, and it's inaccurate. So it was general. You know, people have accents. I see it's pretty accurate with me, but I tend to speak clearly and slowly, so it's not showing up for me. But if I talk really fast, and you know, maybe it would. No, it's still pretty accurate. But anyway, maybe it's improved also since, you know, when we tried a few months back.
Yeah, because the Zoom bought a company called Otter, and Otter specializes in transcripts based on users' accents, and they have multiple accents of people from all over the world.
Right, that's what we have.
And that is really good. I use it a lot, and it is amazingly good.
So do we have to hook that up with the live transcripts? We have to get that app as well. Okay. We don't use it that much yet. And just internally, again, for taking minutes of meetings, I thought it would be just save us a lot of trouble. The other thing is I just started testing the other languages, and it was really inaccurate. But then I saw there was there's a release note that there was some improvement with it, so I haven't tested it since. I tested it like 2 weeks ago.
That's my current experience as well.
Okay, yeah, and you know, it's like Google Translate got better and better and better, so I only expect improvement, and I'm glad that it's there. You know, like I see these languages, they don't have some of them that we could use, but you know, it's a start.
They're using an AI engine, so it's a fast learner. I mean, far quicker than anything that Google used initially when it started off and imported all of the EU transcripts that were already translated and used that as the basis to match words, phrases, etc. Yeah.
So another accessibility piece is this detect flashing images. So user can enable an option under accessibility settings that allows Zoom app to detect flashing images or patterns and automatically dim the video in a meeting or webinar. If we think about folks who have light sensitivity or epilepsy or something like that, this is a really nice addition also. So then we get into the meeting features, and check this out. We're not going to need webinar soon. We're really not going to need it soon. I mean, between focus mode and some of these new features. So now there's going to be Q&A in meetings. Participants will be able to ask questions. It'll be so interesting to see how it's implemented, if it's a part of chat or if it's a separate thing from chat. Keep your mouth quiet, Frank. Don't say anything. But then it says that, they can be viewed by all, but only answered. And when it says answered, they mean in text. So only the host or co-host, I guess, can. So it must mean that this is going to be a separate breakout box so the host and co-host can answer the questions in chat. But presumably you could also, if you're doing a live stream, you could, or any Zoom meeting for that matter, people can put their questions. It's a little bit, it's sort of it's not Mukana by any stretch, which is what we use in office hours, but it's Q&A from webinar over in meetings. They can be answered in real time. Hosts can mark submitted questions as something that will be answered live, so participants are aware and can expect their answers to follow soon. Oh, so we're not going to get that on the 12th, but maybe on the 18th. What's happening with webinar yeah, Frank, go for it.
I'm not going to speculate on webinar, but I'm really happy about this feature. I've been asking for it. I'm sure lots of people have been asking for it for about 4 years. One of the concerns I get a lot from the people I work with is we'll have 300 people in a meeting and the chat just flies by, and it's usually one person who's giving a lecture. They just can't keep up with the chat. It's too fast. There's too much going on in the chat, so they don't bother. The Q&A thing, the ability to vote a question up, really, let's say you've got 300 participants and somebody asks a silly question. Meanwhile, there's a really important issue that everyone's really interested in. That question will raise to the top, and it's a lot easier for the meeting host to see those questions.
Wait. Is there voting in here?
Yeah, that's how Q&A works in webinar. You can enable voting and have questions rise to the top.
Oh, okay. Forgive me. I didn't realize that because I never use webinar. So, that's interesting. So if voting is in here also, that's even bigger.
I don't use webinar as on the host end, but I'm in webinars and I've seen that. And then somebody says, yeah, I have the same question. And then, so we'd be able to like vote it up towards the top. That is a great feature.
That is so powerful. Wow.
And of course you have the moderation in Q&A, where you can moderate what other people see in terms of the questions asked, which is also useful when you're trying to, some organizations like to keep control on what's being put out into the public, and that really works well there.
So it sounds like with this though, we don't really have that control because it says that questions can be viewed by all. So maybe we could delete a question after the fact, after it's already submitted, but it seems to me like everyone can see the questions, but only host and co-host can answer them. And then responses are also sent. Oh, they can be sent either publicly or privately.
I believe there's also going to be a Q&A report available after the meeting, and that can be anonymous or you can know who answered what or asked what.
Nice. And yes, and you can the questioners can also submit questions anonymously. There was I was watching the behind the scenes of Zoomtopia last Wednesday, and I didn't realize that you could send anonymous questions. So that was a webinar, that was not in meetings, and he said a couple of times, be aware that if you don't click anonymous, your name will come up on screen. So again, a nice feature to have if anonymity may be important to you or some of your participants. But can I just ask this really does seem, it just seems like they're stomping all over webinar. Now, again, I'm not a fan of webinar, so I'm fine if it goes away, but what are these going to merge into one? Yeah, Robert, what do you think?
I got my hand up. Did you see Denise Leinhardt's post on LinkedIn where she showed exactly what's happening to webinar? Webinar is becoming part of Zoom events. So the Zoom, I know Ray's nodding his head because he liked that post, but you can evidently see that it's single day, multi-session webinars, multiple day, single session webinar. It seems as if it's getting pushed into there. And I guess the reason they're doing that is to be able to get the back end into it. Yeah.
Interesting. So then so webinar, I mean, Zoom Events right now does webinar and meeting, but webinar is going to become perhaps tightly integrated, maybe even integrated as only in events. And then the rest of us will get meetings with these advanced features.
It seems like that. I
Yeah.
don't know. I haven't seen a release, but it seems like that.
Wow.
Or it seems like it's not and, but or. So we have one account that's 300 and up, and we can choose webinar or regular meeting, but I don't know about the integration.
Yeah. Very interesting. Polls. So launch the web. Okay. So they've moved poll creation and editing into the client is what they've done here, because you could always, not always, you could before create and edit polls during a meeting, but you had it, that would launch the web. So you'd have to do it on the web. Now I guess they're building it into the client. And look at chat. React to and reply in threads to in-meeting chat messages. Again, that's coming on December 18th. Boy. This is really interesting. What's the there's a Zoom app that Alex is I can't remember the name of it. They announced it at Zoomtopia. It feels like, I wonder if an app like, I mean, with some of these, if you've got Q&A, if you've got upvoting, if you've got threaded conversations, I'm not quite sure what else you need in chat. That's kind of amazing.
I guess, Dave, that those chat features are actually coming from the external chat, which they're trying to integrate into the
Right.
internal chat of meetings.
Oh, right. Because you're right. Because there's threaded. I never use Zoom chat, but on the few times that I have, you're right. There's threaded conversations in Zoom chat. Sorry, Zoom. What's it called? Team chat.
Team chat, yeah.
Yeah, we have to get it correct.
Are you interested in user feedback for like a feature I would like?
Well, I'm very interested in it, but I don't work at Zoom. So
okay.
Please share it with me, but I have no influence whatsoever.
So it's interesting, the chat. I use the chat a lot, and I've convinced others that it's like really valuable. So we share a screen, we show a quote, we also put it in the chat. So when the quote comes down, people can refer to it. You could put stuff in the chat before you go into breakout rooms. It goes with you. And then we have bombers at public meetings, so we limit the chat to, hosts and co-hosts, etc. But then the facilitator can't be a co-host if we don't want them to hear the doorbell sounds, and some of them want to be able to chat, some don't want to be distracted by it. But it would be great for me to be able to check off who I want to chat to, like the co-hosts, the co-host team. And right now I have to copy and paste to every co-host if I want to tell them a message. I can't do it to like the team. So that would be a feature that would be very useful for me and my teams.
We've actually also talked about having maybe a third tier. So you got or fourth tier, I should say. You've got host, co-host, participant. We'd love to have another tier in there, which maybe, panelist or presenter or moderator or something like that.
Or interpreters.
Interpreters. Yeah.
I'm not using webinar. This is just in regular.
No. I mean in meeting also.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, oh shoot, I forgot. It was one other thing that, like to choose, oh gosh, it was something about co-host. Oh, right. To be able to individually hear or not hear the exit enter sound.
Yeah.
So that the facilitator can be a co-host, but doesn't have to hear that sound, because that is really a personal preference for many of them, but they do need to, anyway. So just things like that, like to have a little more choice individually within, like if we're on the tech team.
Yep. Hey, I have a question, by the way. It's a little off topic, but for when you're streaming from Zoom. So right now, as the host, what I'm seeing is what's streaming out to Zoom. So if I were to spotlight myself, now this is what's going out to Zoom. To YouTube. But here's my question. I use dual monitors. If I keep the gallery view on my main monitor and I've got whatever is spotlit on my bottom monitor, what goes out to YouTube? So right now in my main monitor, I've got the gallery, but in my second monitor, I've got the spotlight.
I'm checking it now.
I think it's the main. I hope I'm wrong about this.
So am I checking in Facebook or YouTube to see the live stream?
Doesn't matter.
Oh.
It's in both places.
How do I find it? Can you put a link in the chat?
So I'm watching YouTube now.
I'd love to, but I don't have the link.
And go ahead and switch your screen, David.
So what? Well, just tell me, what are you seeing?
Well, I can show you what I'm seeing.
Oh, that's a good idea.
This is what I'm seeing.
Also. Right. Okay. So you're seeing the gallery view, which is not. I can switch back here, which is not. So in a second, this will. The
right, it'll switch over.
Yeah. It'll switch back to. So that's something I wish they would. I wish that if I spotlight someone, I wish that would go out so that I could keep gallery view up on my main screen.
It would have switched by now. Oh no, there you are.
Yeah, now it's switching. That I don't like. So now I just switched back to gallery view on my main screen. I'm still spotlit, I think. Am I still spotlit? Yeah, I'm still spotlit. And in a second, it'll probably. Yeah.
It's a similar issue to what I have in recordings. So we're going to talk about that eventually.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that.
Okay, I don't want to interrupt what you're talking about now.
Yeah, see, there you go. So now it just, that's frustrating. I wish it.
Second.
Okay, because I like.
There's a way around that, David.
What's that?
I mean, when you do a share screen, you go onto YouTube, okay? The share screen goes onto YouTube.
Right.
If you pin yourself onto the first monitor, you will go onto YouTube because it's taking what your main monitor, where you have your main Zoom client is.
Wait a second. If I pin myself to the first monitor.
Yeah, that's your main, where you have all the control panels on Zoom. That's your main monitor.
Yeah.
You should go out to YouTube.
So I'm going to, no, but I don't want myself to go out to YouTube. I want whoever I spotlight to go out to YouTube.
You have to pin
not the gallery.
Yeah.
You have to pin each person or just keep it in speaker view.
Or keep a single screen.
Does he spotlight or use pin to get someone onto YouTube? You could try it with me if you want.
Either way, it doesn't matter, is the point. Is that whatever I'm looking at in my main monitor, that's what's going out to YouTube. Now, here's what's interesting. So I just don't see it. Okay. So here's what's strange. I have view self turned off. Right? I don't want to see myself when I'm speaking. So I'm talking right now. I'm still looking at Joni, but on YouTube, it did switch over to me, so that I just don't see myself in Zoom. But if whatever with that exception, whatever I see in my main Zoom monitor, that's what goes out on a live stream. And what I'd like to do, what I wish I could do is say, please stream my second monitor or stream my first. I'd love to have that option, right? To choose either my first or my second monitor. That way I could keep gallery view on my main monitor, or alternatively, allow me to put gallery view on my secondary monitor, which you can't do.
Yeah.
Right
Alternatively, now, just set up a second laptop with just one screen, and then you'll see exactly what's going on.
Right, exactly.
And stream to YouTube from that laptop, of course, as the co-host.
Stream to YouTube,
David,
but you can't stream as a co-host. You can only stream as a host. So you'd have to make that other computer your host.
Sorry, your host.
Right. Gotcha.
I'm sorry.
No. Absolutely jump in. And then Joni, I know you had something. And then if we have time, we can get back to that because there's a lot more in the release notes.
So I'm using two monitors. Well, one of the monitors is actually my teleprompter. But anytime that I use two monitors, I always get what I would call a small window. And I know with House of Worship experiences, the small window is always what is broadcasted through Zoom, YouTube, LinkedIn Live. Whatever is in my small window, that's what goes out for me.
Not if you're on gallery. If you're on speaker view, then, so I think the small window you're talking about is the second monitor, I believe. If you keep your main monitor in speaker view, then you're essentially going to see the same thing in both monitors. But if you switch your main monitor to gallery view, your secondary monitor will still show either the active speaker or whoever's spotlit. That is not necessarily what gets streamed out. What's in your main monitor gets streamed out. Unless I'm wrong, that's what we're seeing here.
I'm probably not saying it correctly, David, but what I will say is that the monitor or the view that says Zoom only always shows whatever is being broadcast. So like right now I have in the teleprompter, I have you only. And when someone else is speaking, it will go to them. But on my second or my main monitor, I'm looking at the gallery view and I am highlighted because I'm speaking. But what is showing to me in my small window is only you.
Right. So
I have the same thing. Isn't that follow speaker? Isn't that what you're doing, Tony?
Yeah, but that's
Isn't
not
that
what
what's
gets
on your?
that's not what gets streamed out.
Oh, you're right.
I don't think.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure what's on the main monitor. I mean, at least again, so right now I'm looking at you on the YouTube and I can't really show it because it won't work. But and you're speaking because I'm in speaker view on my main monitor. If I switch that to gallery view now in just a second, you're going to see, I'm still seeing the speaker down in my second, in that little monitor, as you called it. But now I just switched to gallery view in my main monitor, and you should see that come up in just a minute.
There is quite a lag.
Yeah, there's quite, so there you go.
Yeah, so
now
seeing,
Tony,
Tony.
I'm looking, the same setup as you. My secondary monitor, which is the active speaker, I still have Joni because she was the last speaker, but for you, it would be me. That's who you're seeing there. But on my main monitor, which is the one that has all the Zoom controls, I'm in gallery view. And so that's what's streaming out, which again, I don't like, but that's just me. Joni, did you have something that you want to bring up?
Well, it had to do with, so we have all these events. It's for my spiritual group, so we have our house of worship is mobile, all over. And I just recently did a memorial service. So we're doing hybrid events. So they were in person and I'm the Zoom person. And it wasn't my account. So I don't know what the recording settings were. I did test that I could record and then look at the recording. But when I tested, it was only me. During the event, I used host order and kept and also spotlight. So we had the main speaker behind a lectern, and then I wanted to have the room view. So we had two cameras set up for the live event and show the context, and the family was there. And during the live event, I kept spotlighting both or switching, but the recording only showed the speaker view. So all that work I did during the event wasn't in the recording at all. I mean, it's really good that it was recorded for the family, but so I thought that what I was doing and was being seen by the attendees on Zoom was in the recording and it was not. So big learning curve there. I don't record too often, so.
Yeah. Anyone have any experience with that?
Yeah, I do a lot of recording on our events with interpretation on multiple devices. And the only way I found that you can capture that is by doing a local recording, because you're recording exactly what people see.
Local recording. I mean, I did record to my computer. So in that sense, it was saved locally, but that's not what you mean, is it?
That's exactly what I mean. If you're doing a local recording, then you will get exactly what's seen on the screen.
No, I think it was the account setting. And since it wasn't my account setting, I didn't have a chance to choose except where I wanted to record to, which was local. So it was recorded to my computer, but it only recorded speaker view.
Well, let's jump in.
Sorry, Jenny.
I just wanted to ask, were you co-host in that meeting?
I was the host.
You were the host of the meeting. Okay. Because I record twice a week for my house of worship experience. And one of the things that I do is that I have an iPad that comes into the meeting as well. And I label it service monitor. And what I'm doing is I am looking at that iPad to make sure that it is capturing what I need to capture for the service. That is the way in which I ensure that what is actually going out is what I want to go out. So it's not my meeting either. I'm they make me co-host and I do the recordings. I actually do two recordings. I do one recording, which is the entire service. And then I do a recording that is shorter, which is just a spoken word. And I just make sure that I have another device that's in the meeting so that I see what the attendees or the members see.
But I just to clarify though, what is streaming is not necessarily what's being recorded, right? So if you look at the so these are the settings on the back end for recording. So first of all, there's for local recording. Do you want to save chat messages? You don't really have a lot of options for local recording. Local recording, I think, as Robert, you said, it just records exactly what you see. But then for cloud recording, you can decide, do you want to see the active speaker with shared screen, gallery view with shared screen, active speaker, gallery view, and shared screen all separately so that you can then kind of do it in audio only or save chat messages. And then there's also all this other stuff down here. Do you want their names? Do you want thumbnails and all this other good stuff?
So that's where I would change the settings.
Yeah. So this is if you go into settings.
Right. But it wasn't my account. So.
And then recording.
It was what it was.
Right.
I will save this. I forgot to save the chat because on my account, chat is saved automatically. And I was like, oh no, I told people to put their condolence messages in the chat. I can't believe I didn't save it. And luckily it was saved with the recording. So I was, phew. Yeah. That was so yeah. So now so if you save it locally, there are less options for recording. I think next time. It
seems that way.
It would just be good to just record it all and then deal with it later.
Now, Robert, though, let me ask you. So local recording grabs what you're seeing, but again, which screen so if if I'm looking in my main Zoom window at gallery view, is that what's being recorded or is the spotlight being recorded?
You know what, it records where you have your Zoom menu. In other words, all of your controls on Zoom. In other words,
right, the main
screen. And when I do these recordings, I always just go on single screen mode.
Jeff records single screen only. When he runs Zoom Test Kitchen, he runs it single screen, and he says it's so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting. I live for double screen. I don't know why.
That memorial service, it was the first bilingual one, and I didn't have a chance to test the translating. So I found a translator, and we didn't want to spotlight her, but because it reverted it defaulted to speaker view unbeknownst to me. That's what was recorded. So she was,
That doesn't sound right, Joni. I can talk to you about the
Okay.
interpretation, but if you're doing simultaneous interpretation, in other words,
no, we didn't use the feature. I actually had a live translator,
oh, okay,
but we
yeah.
only wanted her, up in the left corner using host order. We didn't want her spotlighted. So,
Okay.
live and learn.
If you want to do that, then you're probably talking about using ZoomISO to grab feeds or screen scrape those feeds and then build a scene where you have your speaker and then you have your interpreter up at the top corner or something like that.
Not even necessary. I see that in the settings, if we just do cloud recording, I could record them all separately and then decide in the editing later of how you want to piece it together. So question has been answered. Thank you.
Joni, just one word of caution. If you're doing cloud recordings and you're recording all of those different screens, that's a lot of space you will need.
Yes. True.
The only thing I don't like about local record is that you can't access it until you've left the meeting. That's the only thing I really wish that I could. There have been times when I've been wanting to test something, and so I've hit local record, and then I've wanted to share it in the same meeting that I'm in, if I was testing a Zoom feature, but I can't because you can't.
You can do it, David, you can do it in instant replay in OBS.
Yeah, I don't use OBS, so remember,
I know you're not an OBS person.
I'm the Ecamm guy. Sorry.
Ecamm guy, do they have instant replay?
No, they
on
don't.
Ecamm?
They, believe me, a lot of people talk about it, but we don't have instant replay yet. Yeah, so you're saying you could ingest Zoom into OBS and then play it back through.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've had this discussion before, but if I'm not wrong, you can record locally, stop the recording, and the stopped recording part of it will be accessible once it becomes accessible, because it's still got to go through that process, even during the meeting. You don't have to leave the meeting. I mean, we can test it now. If you give me rights to record locally, I'll record. And then
I'm going to.
Yeah, I thought it was that we had to end it because when I tested it, but let's see.
By the way, I always forget. I always look at the participants list and I try and find someone's name, forgetting that you should just search for it. Just type the person's name in.
The first letter.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. You should be good to go, Robert. I always forget that though. And I always end up searching down this long list for their names.
Okay. I'm recording at the moment. So
great. All right. So
it's going to be a short piece, just a couple of seconds.
Of course.
That's all we need.
And I usually.
So you probably need me saying something, don't you, Robert, in order to be able to be a good recording?
Without Ray, it's not even worth it. Not even worth it.
John, you're muted.
All right, what'd you get, Robert? Did it work?
Yeah, just give me a second. I'm looking for it.
All right, so while he looks, let's see. I'll just to full time. I'll just share a couple more of these guys over here. So we've got. Let's see. We've got enhanced polls, enhanced formatting. Right, we talked about that. Animated meeting reactions. And each video talk can be animated. That's really interesting. That sounds a lot like in Zoomtopia when they have the animations flying up the screen. I know it's not the same, but so Joni just did the clapping emoji. Now maybe you would actually see it move, which would absolutely draw more attention to it. One of the things that I find a lot, especially with hand raising, is that depending on a person's background, what's behind them, sometimes and the flesh tone that they've chosen. I chose a more light-skinned flesh tone, and I've noticed that it's much harder to see than the ugly yellow one that Zoom has.
So here's another thing for feedback. If there's anybody here from Zoom, we should just be able to choose any color. Why does it have to be flesh tone? I want a contrasting color to my background.
Like a color picker. Just get a color picker in there.
Yeah, red or purple, or it doesn't have to be flesh tone. So
that's interesting.
It'd be green.
Yeah. Did you find it, Robert?
Yeah, can I play it back for you guys?
Yeah, of course.
Let me see if I can figure how to do it. How to do
So
this.
I was wrong. I was wrong. So if you just stop the recording, see, I guess I guess
don't
what
have the rights to share it.
what? What does that mean?
You won't let me share anything.
Oh, he has. Sorry, this in my meeting. I always have screen share available. All right, now you can.
Yeah.
So okay, so I guess the problem is that Zoom doesn't give you any indication that it's actually doing the processing in the background and getting that video file ready. Whereas when you end the meeting, it actually says converting the video, the recording. Okay, but it's doing it in the background. On this long list for their names.
Okay, I'm recording
There you
at
go.
the moment, so
Look at that.
Great. All right, so it's going to be a short piece, just a couple of seconds.
of course.
Who's that really cute guy with the beanie on his head? Oh, that
It's
was
me.
That was me. Oh, that's you. That's right. All right, cool. Thank you for that. I didn't know that.
I'm sorry,
he-
David. Was
No,
that
please, please.
QuickTime that he used?
No, I used the Zoom local recording, and I just took me a while to figure out where it had actually saved the file. And then you go and you double click on the auto convert, and you got to wait till it converts. So if you have a long stretch, you'll have to wait a bit. This one was just 3 or 4 seconds long, so it took about the equivalent time to convert. So that.
Yeah,
I'm
if
so-
you're doing short ones, it works really well. But if you've got
Sean Idelson, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great.
I
I'm
didn't see you
enjoying the
lurking
conversation.
over there. It's so good to see you here.
I sort of snuck in. I've been playing with stuff. I'm trying to learn new things. So I got
Oh
this-
my gosh! Are you using the that tool from now I'm forgetting his name, using OBS?
Blippi. I signed up to become a magician. Next thing you'll see me doing magic tricks. This is going to be my next career.
You need a deck of cards. So you're using OBS to do that.
I have fallen into the OBS hole.
Oh man. Best of luck to you, my friend. That's fantastic. That is awesome. Now those images, those were not from this meeting. That was like a pre-recorded Zoom or something.
Yeah, they provide a similar thing to the ZoomOSC playground that Alex Lindsay does. So
Gotcha.
it's a, and I'm going to try to figure out how to get the Alex Lindsay one to fit into it and stuff. So, or I should say, not the office hours global one.
Yeah.
But
That's very cool.
My interest again is I do a lot of work with the California State Parks, and the interpreters are great at what they're doing. They didn't get into state parks and interpretation because they like tech, and magicians are similar to that. They didn't get into magic because they like tech. So I'm using this as a model that I might be able to create similar sort of systems for park interpreters.
For people who don't know about this tool, can you just kind of show us the different scenes that you can pull up and stuff, or different views?
Well, I've signed up. I don't know actually what my restrictions are, but you can go inside the show under YouTube, and he's got public videos of what he does.
Great. Thank you so much.
But I will say,
what is it called again?
Inside the show.
Inside the show.
I will say that this community wise, which is interesting, is that he's started very early on trying to create shows for performers, magicians, and the idea of it had to be a one-person show because the budgetary constraints and things. And so
in this video, I'm going to tell you everything.
And he early on got involved with ZoomOSC, and then ZoomOSC got picked up by, or Andy got picked up by Zoom, and ZoomOSC and Liminal still exists in their Zoom. So he ends up using a lot of the same API hooks. But it's an interesting organization he's pulled together with it. So I think it's both his technology. Yeah, there, Dave, you've got it to his website. So pretty much everything he does there. He did a free thing 2 times a year. He opens it up to the community. And what's interesting now about the community is that it first started out with magicians. And clearly with a magician, you want high interactivity and you want to be able to control the direction of the attention of the audience. And so he's done that very cleverly with magicians. Now, for me as an interpreter for a state park or a professor, I'm not doing magic, but I want to do the same thing. I want to control the attention of the audience. And I want to draw their attention to certain things. And magicians want to distract them at certain times. So there's lots of what he was doing for magic shows can be slightly modified if you're really trying to do intense park interpretation or lecturing. So that's why I decided I would join the team. But as a professor, I did amateur magic tricks, that's anything to get the students' attention. So,
Hey, I think if you're a really good Zoom tech, you are a magician.
that well said. So when I taught instructional design and I was teaching the power of video and power of collaboration, and I would do this face-to-face, I would do a magic trick. It's called jumping jacks. Someday I'll do it for you, but essentially it's a routine where 4 jacks jump up and down in the deck. And so what I would do is I would divide the class into 3, and one group would stay with me and I would be teaching the trick, but not very well. The other group got written instructions and they had to learn it on their own, but the instruction had an error in it. That's the sort of professor I am. And then the last group was dyads, where they would teach each other the trick. And then we brought everybody together. The group that I was teaching and doing very poorly, I got confused, I'd mess it up. None of them could do the trick. For the students who had the instructions that had an error in it, maybe one student in 30 would figure out the error and could do the trick. The dyads that worked on together and eventually figured out how to do the trick, they were almost 90% able to do the trick, both of the people in the group. And then I would do the trick very well, and they realized I'd tricked them, and then they never trusted me. But anyway, a little bit of the sort of professor I was.
Love it.
So I did do magic in my classes.
All right. Well, you have 1 week until the next Zoom test kitchen to get our magic trick ready for us.
It may be a while, but I do hope in February and March to get some of the park interpreters here so they could start doing test kitchening.
Nice.
Well, that kind of goes along with what I was saying, that it takes playing with something and going back and forth and testing it out and having fun, just trying new things before we figure things out, because you don't want to do that during a live meeting.
Right, which is precisely
and the
why
thing
we're all here.
That's interesting with Flippy. He, and I think the reason he and I, he was able to convince me to spend money on him. He's an engineer by doctorates in industrial engineering. So a lot of what he's been doing here is, he calls it magic, don't look down. But what he's done is figured out the placement of the buttons on your Stream Deck so that I don't have to look down to be able to pull that and then bring that and be able to go to that and then be able to, I do have to look down because I haven't learned this as well, and then go change a person who's on the speaker and then go back to this and then go to this. Oops, I go back to this, then go to this, and then do this. So
how'd you do that
Not
one,
so-
the last one?
what's that?
How'd you do the last one when you're surrounded by the
That's they're using essentially a feature in OBS,
Oh, okay.
and then they're using the ability to use the API in Zoom to be able to pull a gallery and then readdress it. But I think this is one of the missing pieces when we talk about Stream Decks, is that it's button mania, which what button here, what button there. And I must admit, the cobbler's children's have no shoes. Every Stream Deck in my house is different, because I'm, one of my machines like, oh, I'll do it this way. And then I go down to the other studio and it doesn't work. And I should know better, because, when I was active, basically I had multiple keyboards. Every computer I had the exact same keyboard. And when I would go to an office, I would carry a keyboard with me, because if you really want to be good on a keyboard, you got that keyboard. And so he reminded me when he was doing this, going, yeah, I really shouldn't ever just, but I get a different Stream Deck. I try a different feature, and so I stick it on a page on it. So anyway. There you are doing your, David, you're a pro at Stream Deck though.
David, you're muted again.
God.
Oh, this is a video.
I'm certainly not a pro, but I set my Stream Decks up so that, like you said, so that I can just place my fingers here. I know that my mute button, well, I usually know that my mute button is right here. But you're right. I mean, they can, if you don't standardize them, then they aren't much help because you're still having to look down and kind of peck around for the right one. But yeah. So meeting.
Yeah, there's Ray showing us how he does it.
Yeah, Ray, see, now you're using Companion on yours, right? He can't find the mute button. Ray, can you hear me? Are you using Companion? No, you can't hear me. Yes.
It takes two hands.
So yes,
yes, I'm using Companion.
That's Companion, right? And when for me, I've got one hooked up to Companion, so on a different computer, so that I can, I can control OSC and all that from here. This is kind of my interface for my streaming software, and then this is the Zoom one. And I absolutely could have different pages or different folders. In fact, one of the things that we learned this past week on the Stream Deck Lab was how to use a shift key, or what he calls a shift key, that by pressing this, it actually brings me to another page in Companion. I can do actions, and then when I let go, it brings me right back to where I was. But for me personally, I like having just the page with the buttons. I know where they are. I can just rest my hand on it and press them as I go. So
my problem, the older I get, if it's any more than the 5 fingers on one hand, I'm lost.
Right.
But that's actually why I'm pretty excited about the new Stream Deck, which I know you're not terribly excited over, Dave.
I just, if I did editing, I think I would be excited about it. Okay, Robert.
No, it's got 8 keys. If you can't do it in 8 keys, you can't sing a song.
See, I can't do it in 8. That's the problem. And that's everyone's problem. You buy the 6 key or the 15 key Stream Deck, and then you immediately have to go out and buy the 32 key Stream Deck. And then you need another 32 key Stream Deck. I mean, yeah, right. I don't, look, I'm sure it's a brilliant product. I just personally don't understand, first of all, why do you need to make the keys bigger? Now, as I get older, I can absolutely see the value in larger keys because I'm going blind, but that was insensitive. I apologize for saying that. It gets harder for me to see. And the knobs, unless you're doing editing, I'm just not sure. If they had made a 32 button Stream Deck with 4 knobs down the side, that I would have been interested in.
Well, they have the touch panel in between. And
all that does is remind me on the MacBook. I have one here. The touch. What's it? The touch bar on the MacBook Pro.
That's right. So if you're a touch bar hater, then
right,
there's no hope for you. There's a special place for you in the tech guru place. But no, I mean, for me, I can see once they get the controls on it, there are tweaking that you'd like to do. So like right now in a gallery view, it's hard to go through them. But if you had that bar and you could literally turn it left and right, and you got names scrolling below you, I could see how that could be a very powerful thing. And again, even with this course that I'm in, again, this is industrial engineering guy came out, people asked Philippi, hey, shouldn't we get the bigger screen deck so we don't have to pass and do this and other? And he basically said, no, you want the 15 one because that's the range of fingers that you can get. It's without looking at it, I could tell which row I'm on and those things. So
there's truth to that.
It's potato, but you're also a musician. So you're used to doing one thing with one part of your hand and another part with the other. I mean, I used to play saxophone and I got pretty nimble, both left and right hand. But now that I my saxophone days were way behind me. And I realized, that I'm not as ambidextrous as I used to be in my youth.
Well, as an instrumentalist needing a Stream Deck, that's where the pedal comes in handy. In fact, my pedal, I'm now on my third Stream Deck pedal. My first one, I loved it. And then after a couple of months, it lost connection with my computer, it wouldn't connect. I contacted them. They said, we'll send you a replacement. They sent me a replacement. On Monday, again, it lost connection. I could not figure out how to get it connected again. They said, we'll send you another one. And I was supposed to be delivered here today. It ended up being delivered at my home. I put the wrong address in. So it's there, and I have to set.
Isn't it just USB? I mean, is the USB?
It's USB. Yeah, it's
This is the
USB.
connection.
And it's got three pedals on it, a big center one, and then one on the right and the left. And if you are a musician or a speaker that likes to use their hands, it's fantastic. So tomorrow, for example, tomorrow morning, I'm leading a service, and I use that to advance the slides in my prayer book, as it were. I do all my scene changing with my hand, but I don't do much during a service. It's mostly just me. But being able to continue to play while I'm moving through, pages on a keynote with my foot is just fantastic. I mostly got it. I had another one. I had the Page Flip Firefly and the Page Flip.
Yeah.
The other one, Butterfly, I think. This one I got mostly because it's sturdier. It's got a really hefty, nice feel to it. I really like. It's very comfortable to have my foot resting on. I do everything with no shoes on, mostly because I don't want to dirty up my carpet. But
TMI, but that's okay.
Sorry. I have my pants on, just not my shoes. And it's a really well built, except for the fact that mine keeps breaking. It's a very well built product that I really enjoy using. So
Everything old is new again.
Exactly.
Grew up using a dictaphone with, pedal that, you push to record and rewind fast forward. So
nice. Robert, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's just a shout out for Elgato. Everything that Elgato makes is just thought through so well. It's quite amazing. I think they're the Apple of all of the tech stuff that goes with production. Well, our level production anyway, or my level production.
What about the pink microphone they just came out with? I'm looking for it. Did you see this?
No, I've just seen the Mark III.
So they just announced. No, I'm not seeing it now. It's
they announced they're coming out with one of their microphones. It's not a different microphone, it's just a pink color.
Right. No, it's the Wave 3, but it's in pink.
Yeah. And it's like Apple with their red, and then Logitech came out with their whatever they're calling their mic that's in white, but you could have different color foam things on it.
It's interesting. It's not even on their website. Actually, I'm looking for it. I think maybe it's just a giveaway. Wave 3. Oh, here it is. Yeah, pink edition. So yeah, everything they build is fantastic. I'm not sure I'd go for the pink. It's sold out. It's sold out right away. But yeah, I agree. I think that they are really, in many ways, they're dominating some of the market, I think.
I'm just waiting for the delivery of my new deck, the one with the knobs on it, only because it interfaces straight in with, what do they call it? Wavelink, which allows you to control each and every channel on a Windows machine, each and every app. I mean, that's like the simplest and easiest way to do it is through using one of these Elgato pieces of equipment, because using anything else becomes so technical. It's absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah, the Wavelink software is really nice. I agree. And before the Stream Deck Plus, you had to have one of their mics in order to get access to that. But now with this device, you get access to it also. I agree with you. Yeah, very, very powerful software.
And with the knobs, you just turn between the apps, you see them come up and just choose the one you want to adjust. It's just made for people.
Right.
David, I wonder if we have anybody that brought a Zoom problem that they want to address today.
Sorry. Thank you for bringing us back, Ray. Okay, wait. let's go back to Zoom for a second. So let's keep looking at this for a second. So we got a meeting countdown timer, so you can see not only the current duration of the meeting, but also how much time is left in a meeting, which would be nearly impossible to use on the test kitchen since we never have an end time. We just go and go and go. Enhanced broadcast notifications. When the host begins broadcasting their voice to all open breakout rooms, indicators that they are currently live are more prominent and clear. This includes the breakout rooms window where the host initiates the broadcast. Oh, interesting. Okay. So I used broadcast for the first time on Friday of last week. I was doing, sorry, not Friday, it was Friday the week before, because we were talking about it last week a little bit. And I didn't use the broadcast voice because I felt like it was a little intrusive. I decided to just use the broadcast text, but now it'll be a little more obvious that you're doing that. And finally in here, the process of joining a meeting is enhanced to combine the please wait for the host to start this meeting window and the waiting room window together. What does that mean? What does that mean? Does that mean that, so right now, I joined this meeting long before, because I had somewhere to be, long before Jeff actually started it. And I got a window that said, waiting for the host to start this meeting. Does this mean that I will be let in, as it were, but placed in a waiting room that is also a please wait for the host to start this meeting?
I think, Dave, if I don't know this function obviously, but I think what it is you'll get the ability to see a message, watch a short video, and those sort of things in the waiting
like
room.
you could do in waiting room now.
I think that's what they're getting at, but I haven't seen it, so I'm not sure.
Oh, so the waiting, that's interesting. So the waiting room video could now be available for people who come early. Or I wonder, it'd be nice to have a second to be able to do a custom video, maybe, for that. Yeah, that's nice.
This is the enhanced join flow that you're looking at, is that right?
Hey there, yeah.
Sorry, just coming in late. Thanks for letting me
Good to
in.
have you here. So glad you're here.
It's funny because I was watching on YouTube, but I rewound it so I caught everything. And then I kept saying, no, it's called Commenda, and no, there's webinar feed.
Commenda, thank you. That's what I was thinking of, yeah.
I need to just join the Zoom and be part of it. So, so this session here about join when the host hasn't started the meeting yet is when you get that please wait for the host to start this meeting. So that's like before the waiting room. So it sounds like, and I can see I'm a little hot, so I'll back off a little. So it sounds like you essentially have a waiting room before the meeting even starts, is how I read this.
Right. I agree.
There are a couple things in my experience is that if you have the waiting room set up for the meeting, if it's automatic, that has to be opened by the host. If like we have other people using the account and starting a meeting, I have to not have the waiting room enabled so that somebody can come in and claim host. In which case, they can open the meeting and then check enable waiting room.
Right. If you have allow join before host enabled so that they can,
and
the meeting starts as soon as someone clicks as soon as someone joins it.
Some people learned that if waiting room was enabled, somebody who intended to claim host could not because they couldn't get into the meeting to claim the host. So it's, big learning curves for a lot of this stuff, especially when you have people who aren't that tech savvy having smaller tech roles, it's like hard for them to remember everything. And
Yep. What else have we got here? Webinar resources, some chat stuff, mention groups.
So I saw that there was a webinar feature listed. And one of the things I wanted to mention earlier when I was just listening on YouTube is I think there's still very much a place for webinars to have these large audiences that are not, it's more of a one-way presentation, right? Because in a webinar, you can have 10,000 people in 10,000 attendees, and Zoom meetings maxes out at 1,000. So I think there's still a use case for webinars. It's just, we, at least in this community and office hours community, love to have it, and in Avio and Blue and Grant's communities, love to have people on screen. So we leverage the meeting feature. But I think for a lot of use cases, there still is a use for webinar where it's primarily one way.
I think there's absolutely a use for webinar. I agree with you 100%. I think that what Robert said before makes a lot of sense, though. I think that it's sort of eventual merger into events is really where it goes. And webinar, what Blue does, what Office Hours does, in order to do that, you have to have a tremendous amount of gear and know-how. And webinar essentially allows you, webinar essentially allows you to do that without the gear. I mean, it allows you to host those large meetings and manage them without all of that gear and stuff. So, I agree with you. It definitely has a place. It just doesn't have a place for me, or maybe I should say it hasn't had a place for me yet. I'm not doing 1,000-person events. So, I do maybe 100, couple hundred tops. But actually this webinar resource that I'm looking now, this actually looks really nice. So again, it's webinar hosts with a Zoom events license can provide resource links. So I wonder how this is different than just throwing links in chat, but it's much different because you can see how they interact. It reminds me of like Constant Contact or MailChimp that lets you see open view, open reports and click through reports and things like that. You can actually see how people interact with the resources that you provide.
I believe you can add the resources when you're scheduling the meeting. So,
so
if you were if you were designing the meeting, you could put your resources in. Then when it's time to have the session, it's taken care of, and there'll be an interface, a button or something that users can click on, and the resources will be there. So,
boy, think about how powerful that could be in meetings for education, right? Think about a professor or a teacher who is teaching I'm teaching an online class starting in January. Oh my goodness, this would be so lovely. So right now, I basically host my resource. I build a web page and I just send all my students to that web page. But imagine having that available right within Zoom but I would need it for meetings, for a class, for a small class. You don't need webinar or events. But you're essentially able to sort of build out a curriculum in some ways right in Zoom. That could be really powerful. Boy, there's some big web release coming on the 18th because all of these, a whole bunch of these are connected to that web release. What does that mean, by the way? Does web release mean they're doing something to the back end of Zoom, like something that's not forward facing? Does anyone know?
I don't think so. I think that's the web-based client, essentially, right? You've got Windows, PC, you got Windows, you got Mac, and you got web.
Gotcha. Let's see. I wonder if let me go over here to other platform updates web. Let me click on that and see what that brings up. Current release. It doesn't even have one in here for that. That's interesting. There isn't even a no, they don't even go ahead to the 18th. I guess after the fact we'll get there. Okay, let's see if there's anything else here. And again, if people have things you want to test out or problems, like jump in. I'm at this point I'm killing time. So, by all means.
Well, I'll share one thing I discovered today when I was after I decided I need to get off YouTube and get on the meeting, I was still on the road. So I logged in on my phone and I discovered something that I hadn't ever seen before, which is when I was, when you're connected on the phone client, you can swipe over and see 4 people per screen. When I flipped my screen to landscape mode, 8 people showed up per page on the phone. And I hadn't seen that on the Android client before. I've got Android and iOS. I know iPad can do more than that, but I've only ever seen 4 people per page until today was the first time I noticed.
On iOS though, it's not pages anymore. If you scroll to the right, then you just scroll up and down to see everyone.
Oh, maybe that's what it was, because there wasn't more than 1 page, and I thought that only meant 8 people were on camera. Maybe it was scrolling up and down. So
yeah, you scroll up and down. Yeah, it used to be that you had to go swipe between all the pages, but now, at least on iOS, it's you can just scroll up and down and see everyone.
I've been told that the new phones have either 6, 8, or 9 people in gallery view at once.
I wonder how many people are in gallery view in the new Tesla.
Oh, there's a really cool new feature. I don't know if you get, I'm mostly on my computer because I've got a lot of monitors, but if I have to go in the other room, I can't hear. And I love the switch feature that's now on the client. Instead of me having to sign in on my phone.
Oh, yes. From the phone to the computer.
And I just switch back and forth. And when I come back to my computer, I switch back, could go into it's like so convenient and I love it.
I agree 100%.
They don't know. When I switch back to my computer, there's no lag. When I go to my phone, I lose about 2 seconds, but they don't notice that I've done anything. So that is like such a cool recent feature.
Excuse my ignorance.
Do you have Zoom Phone also on your account?
Me?
Yes.
I just have the Zoom app on my phone, so I have
the Zoom
to
client. Yeah.
open the app.
So when you
then
have Zoom Phone, it's great because I could be on a phone call, come to my office and just switch, and now I'm on to a Zoom video call. So I've become an incredible fan of being in the whole Zoom eco, and I can't wait for Zoom spots to come out.
So speaking of that, I don't want to take up time or anything. This is my first meeting and I'm, so excited to be here, but Zoom keeps promoting team chat, it's great. And then I could hardly get people to join, first of all, because they don't see the invitation and they think it's spam and they decline. So I only have a couple people on that with me. One thing I like is that I'm able to transfer large files, in the chat or anytime on team chat, but we haven't been using that. So I guess my question would be, what do you love about that? Why should I encourage the other people on my teams to join that with me?
I would offer that I'm not sure I would push people to it, but if you're looking for, what I like about Zoom chat is that it's very Slack-like, in the sense that you can have channels and these threaded conversations, and to me it's great for organizing conversations. I still use Slack for my business stuff because that's what most my folks are on, but I mean that is, I'm not sure I would push people toward it, but if you're looking for a clean interface that has channels and threaded conversations, I think Zoom chat is a great option.
Okay,
and for me, it's just how into the Zoom ecosystem people are, and I'm obviously a Zoom fanboy for any number of reasons. But at Zoomtopia, they announced Spot, which is sort of like the water cooler. So I think there are a lot of our groups, rather than having a constant Zoom meeting like we have with Zoom for after hours, I think the Zoom Spot is going to fall into sort of a Zoom after hours for people who aren't after hours addicts like myself. It's going to be a space.
I agree about spots. Yeah. Can't wait to play with that. I think actually, just getting back to the chat for a minute, I think that part of the challenge is that team chat wasn't as full functioning and built out at the beginning when everybody jumped on Zoom, right? When the whole world figured out they had to live on Zoom, the team chat wasn't as robust as it is now. And I don't think people saw it as a viable alternative to some of the other messaging or chat applications. And so now getting them to move, just like, getting people to move from Twitter to Mastodon or something else, it's a very heavy lift to get people to leave something they're comfortable with and move to something different. So, but and they keep, there are, in this release that's coming out, there are a whole bunch of features that are coming out here. Schedule meetings right in team chat, custom mention groups of users, which are all tagged. That sounds a lot like Discord, actually, right? You can, if you have an everyone tag or whatever tag, up to 100 members can be assigned to a mention group. Delete messages. So they're going all in on chat. Search bar supports searching SMS messages. I guess that's if you're using Zoom Phone, I imagine. Does that sound right, John?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
If you're thinking moving people towards their, the spot, the group that I'm with, once Zoom made the whiteboard persistent, we created that as our sort of space, because you could put charts on it, you could put text on it, much more accessible than Google Docs for us, or Google Slides, which was something I was using before. So right now we have a persistent chat for our organization, and it's just a little whiteboard that I have. It's persistent whiteboard, it's a little whiteboard I have in the corner. And, I'll get, since I'm notorious for missing meetings, there'll be a thing, John, remember your meeting. And I think once the spots comes up, that will become, that persistent whiteboard spots will replace that.
Thank you, Brendan, for the link in there also. Yeah, one of the things that Jeff put in the email for today was actually to look at sort of the Zoom ecosystem, specifically mail and calendar and things like that. And I hooked them up as soon as they came out. So here I've got, let me clean this up just a touch. So you can see here, this is the Zoom mail client, which is just grabbing my Gmail and bringing it in. Really nice and clean. It looks just like Gmail to me. The one reason I'm not using this yet is that it doesn't have the same keyboard shortcuts. I live in Gmail and keyboard shortcuts, and unless they've updated it, and I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, I don't see that yet. That I really need. In order for me to truly live in Zoom Mail, I need the keyboard shortcut, E for archive and all that other good stuff.
Have you tried Vicero, David? Have you tried Vicero? It may just be available for Windows, but it gives me the ability to use those shortcut keys for Windows and make those things happen to any program that's open.
What's it called?
Vicreo. Let me just verify that.
Oh, I've heard of that. I haven't tried it though.
Ray, I think what David is looking for is another reason to buy another Stream Deck.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry. Why didn't I pick that up?
No. So that's the mail. I it's really nice. They don't have dark mode for mail yet. I'm not quite sure why. At least I haven't found it yet. I don't quite understand that, because they do have dark mode for calendar. Yeah. So, and again, this is just my, syncing up with my Google Calendar. Of course, what's really nice about doing it here in Zoom, although there is the Zoom plugin for Gmail, is that it sets it up right here. By default, it just assumes that your meeting is going to be a Zoom meeting, which is nice. And then here's the team chat and join channels, personal information. Yeah, I think I can absolutely, if I got keyboard shortcuts, I can absolutely see myself living in my Zoom client. I could absolutely see myself living in my Zoom client. And I'd be very happy with that.
Cool. David, can I just have a change topic for a minute, please?
Well, of course, by all
I've
means.
got a couple of questions about this sound meter that I'm using. And if you don't mind spotlighting it for a second, it's my other user. And this is a product called Futura. And what I use it for is when we're checking equipment for interpreters for RSI, we need to look at not only volume, but we need to look at sound quality. And what we've learned in time here in Zoom Test Kitchen as well is that sound quality is not just the type of mic you have, it's also the laptop that you have or the computer that you have. And not to get into all those details, I use this tool because it has a spectrometer on it, so I can see how wide the bandwidth of the mic and the laptop is to give the quality of the sound, the consistency, of course, and the sound levels on the bottom left-hand corner. So it's a free tool, actually. And the good thing about this is I run it multiple times on the same laptop, and then I can have different feeds to it at the same time and look at what's going on.
For those of us who are noobs, can you, because I don't understand all the dancing colors, it's very pretty, but can you one more time kind of explain that?
So in the middle there,
sorry, and Robert, and also how you're bringing the Zoom audio into that, if you could just explain that also.
Okay, so two things, the colors there, if we look at the main graph in the middle, with the frequencies from 100 to 10,000 hertz, the red in the background are the peak levels that are maintained for a while, and then the green is the current level of speech. And of course, the bandwidth, which is from the 100 to the 10,000, shows the quality of the sound that's coming through. If you have an ordinary mic like I do here on my lips, they usually cut off about halfway on this scale. If you've got a mic with a big membrane, then it'll probably go up to the higher end of that scale.
So the higher the better.
Higher the better. In this respect, yes, the higher the better. The numbers 1, 2 on the left-hand side. 1 is left channel, 2 is right channel, because it's a 2-channel meter. So you can actually feed 2 different things into this at the same time. And then the way you feed them in is wrong mouse, wrong computer. You go up to the settings and plug on that, and you can select where you want the sound coming from. And the way I get the sound into this is I use virtual cables. I use a virtual cable that says my speaker on this machine is actually sending out to this virtual cable, and then I pick this virtual cable up in the app and pull it in as what I want to measure.
And this is Windows only, right?
You know, I only use Windows, so I don't know if it's Windows only. I've only looked at Windows.
Robert, I just actually downloaded it, and it is available for all 3, Windows, Mac, and Linux.
Perfect.
What's the name of that again?
It's on the top right left-hand corner, Friture, as if like future spelt in a funny way. Friture. And what I've been playing, of course, now is for us in the Zoom kitchen, which is interesting. I have my ISO machine pumping out NDI with the new audio channels, and I set up whatever number of these apps on a big screen. I bought myself a huge 28-inch vertical screen, and I have these set up for the different NDI channels from ZoomISO. And I'm figuring out how to get some sort of naming convention into it, because they all look the same, so I can't differentiate them at the moment. But that's the challenge. The rest of the little pictures down the bottom, it's got a multiple amount of ways of presenting what's going on the screen, as you can see. And I don't claim to be an expert, so I don't even want to try and explain what they're all doing. But what I do know is that the bottom right-hand corner, the PSD, it gives you what we've seen in the Zoom test kitchen on that other WLM meter, which gives you the long sound levels. The colorful spectrum in the middle is a very complicated matrix of frequency and time, which effectively tells you that a certain frequency comes in for this amount of time. But it's a really difficult thing to get grasp your head around. I can't figure out what it's used for, but I know what colors I'm looking for when I'm checking interpreters' systems. So that's it. New toy for the day.
That is insane. Now, is it just, oh no, it's grabbing my audio too.
This is catching the Zoom out. So I'm not using the ZoomISO to catch individual audio streams. But if you can imagine, like I said, I've got this 28-inch screen here, and I've got about 8 slots that I can have there, which I monitor in real time. And the reason I do this is that we've been looking for ways of becoming more efficient when we're monitoring interpretation, when we have multiple channels. So far to date, we've actually had people listening in to make sure everything's okay on each channel. And now what I do is I just feed each interpretation channel onto one of these meters, and one person can sit there and at a glance you can see if things are happening or not.
How do you use this to improve the audio quality in Zoom? I mean, what sort of action steps are you able to take once you have all this data?
Well, the first thing is when I have this data on the screen, that's usually during event to monitor what's going on during the event. But prior to the event, I'd get each and every interpreter online an hour before the event, and then we would tweak whatever is required to tweak on the computer. But I work with a stable group of interpreters, so I know what equipment they have. So usually it's just changing of settings. But very often when I get work with new interpreters, it's a matter of getting them to change their kit, get a decent mic, and understanding where to set the audio parameters on Zoom.
And do you have goals, as it were, that so you're looking for each interpreter to have a certain level of bandwidth coming from their mic or things like that?
You know what? Because interpreters work in pairs, the goal here is to make sure that the two interpreters that are working together have the same quality of time, because there's nothing more irritating when you're listening to an interpreter when one has a really loud mic and one has a lower mic, or one has a very squelchy mic and the other one has a deep bass and rooted mic. So this is just like finding a way of normalizing the sound quality for the interpreters as they speak. And that's a real challenge because people are complaining about the quality of sound from interpreters online. And it's nothing to do with, for example, Zoom. It's all to do with the quality of the equipment that the interpreters have, the equipment, the environment they're in, and just the way they hold their mics. Some just don't think about what's coming out. And part of what we do in setting up these interpreters is we record it and play it back to them. And there's nothing worse than listening to yourself speak.
So you have 2 channels there. Can you do more than 2? How many channels can it show?
No, unfortunately, you can only have 2 channels per app, but you can have multiple apps running on your
have each one assigned to something else. I'm noticing that it's doing real time my frequency. Have you done any tests where you've had the same interpreter use different microphones, and is that red green screen adequate to see the difference between one microphone and another in terms of frequency interpretation?
Well, I can show you what I'm doing now. I've got a desk mic at the moment, and I'm just going to switch mics straight away onto the mic I have on my head at the moment. And you can see that it just is a completely different, you can hear it in sound, but you can see the difference on screen now. It's sort of hollow in the middle and the top end is cut off. And when I go back to my mic, then you'll see that the sound quality, the spectrum is so much wider, for one. The bandwidth is so much better. And the lower parts of the spectrum, the 100 to say 500 hertz, is full. It's really lively.
That's fascinating.
This is
John,
incredible.
John, did you want to jump back in? And then, because I know you had your hand up, and then I'll jump over to Andre.
No, there's the question of that, and that was this demonstration I wanted to see, because it's so hard to tell people the difference between the mics. And even when they're hearing their own voice, most people who don't hear themselves regularly are resistant. They can't get over that's not me speaking. And that was a very visual representation of the different quality of the microphone. And if you saw that as an analyzer, you could see the issues also. And then I could see how homogenizing, if you had two interpreters and had them doing this, then you could say, hey guys, this is what you need to have a similar pattern, and you could show them very quickly how it does it. I can't wait to see this, how the office hours audio folks react to this.
Well, this is what I've been playing with all week, driving
And it's
everyone around
free.
the house.
How did you
It's
find out about it?
I have spent so much time researching, and it is free. It's a free app. You can make a donation, of course, to the people who wrote it, and they present it as a graphic representation of an audio channel. That's the way they talk about it, which is exactly what it is, and it's really, it speaks to me. It really, really hit a sweet spot when I saw this.
It's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Andre,
Yeah.
you want to jump
Thank you,
up?
Robert. Very good, very good hint. I wonder how do you get like 8 different audios from one machine into 8 instances of this? Do you have like a lot of virtual cables, or how do you do it?
Yeah, you can get as many virtual cables as you like. Yeah.
Okay. I thought it's only ABCD. Is it?
I've got 2 packs of that.
I see. Okay, thanks.
The challenge is
Interesting to
actually
see what happens with audio hijack and loopback. So we should be able. It might be possible to get all 8 channels into. We'll see how that. I don't know if that would work with displaying it. That's a problem.
This could, but that's Mac only, not for Robert.
Yeah, I've been looking at it quickly when I saw Robert have that up, and I was intrigued very quickly. So what I ended up doing too was,
funny that you were intrigued, because I just want to say it's great that you're intrigued, because I was terrified. Like that many numbers and colors dancing, it's overwhelming.
Well, officially, I've been in the audio industry for a long time, and I've been looking for a free version of the equivalency of what Office Hours has been using for months now. So I was happy to see this, Robert. Absolutely. But when it comes to, so what you were talking about, John, and again, I'm going to speak PC just like Robert, but I can assume that they've taken into consideration, if you actually go into the settings, you see the settings button that Robert's got up there. If you actually go into the settings, you can actually choose which card to listen to. Right? You see?
Yeah, I see. So you could monitor all of these with only one window, piece by piece.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah, really, really hot tip, Robert. Thank you very much.
For what it's worth, WLM meters, they like constantly have sales, it seems. I grabbed it, was it maybe around Thanksgiving time, and for like, I don't know, $30, $40, something like that. So for what it's worth. What else? I mean,
Hasmukh introduced this to us some time back, and it's absolutely brilliant. But what it didn't give me, it didn't give me that arm of quality. It gives you sound level, but you don't get the quality because you don't see the frequency band, of course. And I know they have other tools in their toolkit, but I had a slight issue personally with getting X amount of plugins to do the same thing all the time. And apart from that, when I tested WLM, I couldn't get it to run multiple sessions on one laptop. So that was an issue for me. Maybe there is a way, but I couldn't figure it out.
And another plus of this is that it seems like it's all in one, whereas with WLM, unless I'm mistaken, I run it into audio hijack on a Mac. Like I don't think you can run it. Maybe I'm wrong about that. All right. What else are people? What else is on our list for today? Anyone else have anything?
I did see John's demonstration earlier of Felipe's inside the show tool.
Oh, here we go. Muddy's gonna show off now.
Well, I noticed that in after hours there's the ZoomISO breakout room, this test room, and to Joni's point, that in order to learn and get better at some of these Zoom skills, you really need to be in a live Zoom meeting to do that, and have other people in there. And so it turns out that having that Zoom ISO room is really important to have these videos going that you can go in and test with. And so Felipe on Inside the Show has a similar test meeting that's running, 24 hours with pre-recorded clips, but they're video feeds and they show up as Zoom participants. And so I noticed when John was demonstrating that he was using the gallery from that test meeting. I recognized some of those little clips. And so this was really my first chance to test this with a real live gallery. So that was why I was able to that was just one of the things I wanted to test. And it's also interesting to note when there's not as many people, it just does this kind of L shape as opposed to all the way around. So just wanted to have a chance to see what this was like in a real meeting with real people.
So wait, keep it like that first. Wait, can you go
yeah.
back? Because I'm going to turn off my camera and I'm curious to see what happens.
Yeah, so it should automatically adjust and shrink. And so you see there are two spots where there's logos there, and those happen to be my company logo, but I could put any logos I wanted there. And as people turn their camera on and off, it kind of regroups and pulls in and adjusts those.
But it doesn't show, when I turn my camera off, it doesn't show my profile picture.
No, it essentially, if you don't have, there's 20 some people in this meeting right now, but most of them have their camera off and they don't show up. And it's because the gallery view that it's pulling from that I have on my screen, I have to hide non-video participants. So if I were to switch this and show non-video participants, it's now gonna, be screwed up because it doesn't know how to, pull those in correctly. So, there's a couple things I need to do on my end to make sure that I'm feeding it good data. But one of those is I need to hide non-video participants. But now as people turn their camera on and off, it will adjust and adapt.
So speaking of that, so as a host, actually only the host can do follow host's order. Zoom has its own algorithm. If you don't mess with it, it will keep the live video feeds up towards the top and the ones who have their cameras off, and the telephone only audio people are at the bottom. Once I use follow host video order, I have to do that by hand, and nobody does that except for me. It's like they'll have the facilitator and the couple panelists in the upper left, and they ask the people to raise their hand so that they can see who's asking, because not everybody. So it would be nice if we could keep the Zoom algorithm without having the tech to have to do it once you activate follow host order. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yes, that
because
is,
the texts don't, they they have so much to do. They just don't do that. And it makes such a difference when the live videos are up. And even like if you look at John's headshot and Dave's, it makes such a difference when headshots are there instead of like a picture of a flower or, the purple G. It's like it really makes a difference in a meeting. So that's I guess on my wish list.
I was teaching a class last night to about 30 or 40 participants. And at the beginning of the meeting, I said, that I know that for all of you, it's a lot easier to have your camera off. But for me as a teacher, it's so much better to have your cameras on. It's very different experiences for viewers or participants and hosts or speakers or teachers. I know that when I'm a participant, very often, not very often, I take that back, but sometimes I'll keep my camera off. It's just easier. I don't have to worry. But for the presenter or the teacher, if you're in a meeting setting, my experience is I want to see those faces because it just makes all the difference in the world. All right, folks, what else have we got? Anyone got any other pressing questions or there wasn't much else in the release. I mean, there was some contact center stuff, some phone features. We finally get spell check in mail. For some reason, the Zoom mail client could not utilize the system's built-in spell check functionality, but now it can for emails that you draft in the client. So that's good.
David, can I ask Joni to do a quick demo? I'm totally ignorant in this respect. And how do you get your sound onto your phone when you leave your workplace during a Zoom meeting?
Oh, so the phone thing is tricky. We have a lot of people enter by phone, so I like to know what's going on so I can help them. So so here's the thing. If I want to see what it looks like on my phone, what a shared screen looks like, is it big enough? It's actually beautiful. My phone is 6 years old. It's an Android, at least 6 years old. It's really pretty, like to see the shared screen. It's easy to read. It's easy to scroll. On the phone, you can accidentally press a button, like turning your video on when you don't want to. But I do not join with audio if I'm only checking the visual on my phone as like just to see what it looks like to other people. So if I'm leaving the room where my computer is, or I can, like if I'm sharing an audio with other people and I want to put my headset in for my phone and go outside with the dog and then come back, I will turn the sound down, the volume down on my computer and mute myself on the computer. And then I can turn the sound on my phone. Otherwise you get this horrible feedback noise. I'm sure you've all heard it. So if I'm only checking the visual on my phone, I do not join with audio.
Okay, I think I'm with you now, but that's just logging in on your phone into the Zoom meeting. I thought there was a way of sending your session.
Robert, you're asking about Switch.
Yeah,
You're asking
it's not set. You don't actually send it. It's now so I just opened my Zoom client on my phone and it's not prompting me.
I think there's two things. I was reading up about this because I wanted to test this as well when I could demo. I was mentioning earlier that I could get 8 people on the screen on my phone. I wanted to demo it, and so I was going to switch. It has to be enabled on the web portal for the account, or at least for the user.
For the host account?
Yeah, for the meeting that you're in, for whoever scheduled the meeting that you're in, it has to be enabled in that account. And then I believe it might I don't know. Well, I guess this shouldn't matter. I was going to say the other thing that is unique about this meeting is this meeting requires registration, the meeting that we're in right now. But I am logged in with the same user on my phone and on the computer. So that shouldn't be a barrier. I think it just needs to be enabled in the account in the web portal for whoever scheduled the meeting, because I'm not seeing this meeting.
For this meeting, I cannot switch, and it probably has to do with the registration, but for most of my Zoom meetings, I can switch easily.
And Robert, what I found is it said the way that you would do it, and I'll drop the Zoom support link in the chat here. It said the way that you would do this is on the client, on your desk. If you're transferring from a computer to your phone, that on your computer, on the client window, where the join button is, once you're in a meeting, that would change to a switch button. So typically, you know, on the home screen on the client, it's got like start a meeting, join a meeting, and two other things. Once you're in a meeting, that join one converts to a switch button. And when you push that, the meeting then just kind of closes on the computer and opens on your phone. Likewise, when you're on your phone, there's a little switch button up in the corner as well. So that's the feature.
That is absolutely fascinating. Thank you.
Yeah,
it's definitely not available here in this meeting. I'm looking to see if there's in settings. I don't have access to settings for this meeting, but I'm just trying to find in settings where you.
It says it is under account settings and then in meeting basic. As you're looking for something that says allow users to transfer meetings between devices.
Which is interesting because I don't remember enabling it. It just was there one day.
Probably one of the ones that's on by default. I haven't actually checked my web portal either. I'll do that.
I'm going to look right now.
You know, I'm scrolling through it now and I'm not seeing it. In meeting basic, you could probably search for this, right? Switch.
Yeah, and I like that you can search instead of having to scroll through all the. That was a needed thing.
Huh. I wonder if it's back here in.
So be under settings.
Oh, that's what we're not sure of.
And then search.
I wonder if it's because remember some of the settings are not available.
Account management. Okay.
Co-host meeting survey.
Meeting.
Here it is. I found it. It's one of those settings. Okay, so just as a reminder, this drives me crazy. As a reminder, if you go into your Zoom settings, or you just go into Zoom, right? You log into Zoom. You've got on the right-hand side here, excuse me, on the left-hand side, you've got settings, and that's where most of us go for our settings. And then there is in meeting basic, you can click right there. And if you do that, you will not find this setting in here. But if you scroll down on the left-hand side into under admin, and you choose account management and then account settings, you get what looks like the same exact thing, but there are other settings here that are not available in the other place. And if you go into in meeting basic and you scroll down, you will see.
Or you could type in the search bar transfer meetings.
Right.
Right.
Here it is. Allow users to transfer meetings between devices.
Yeah, and you're right. That was automatically on for me. I don't remember
Yep.
everything. What are you using with the magnifying glass? I like that.
It's called Cursor Pro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that is that. I still don't understand. Maybe it's because I'm a single user, so I don't have a whole bunch of people to deal with. But
Yeah,
to
definitely.
me, as a single user, having some settings hidden down here and other settings up here, it just is just.
I have
crazy.
30,000 users, so it makes a lot of sense for me to keep
Okay,
my
you know
personal
what?
settings away from my global account settings, right?
Now you're just showing off.
No, but I mean, it makes complete logic when you think about it from that perspective, right?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Hey, David, you are the account administrator. You just happen to be the account administrator of one user.
For
and
myself,
you're
exactly.
also that user.
Right. Absolutely. All right. So yeah, so Robert, you have to have that enabled, and clearly it's not enabled on this meeting. So
Could I ask a non-Zoom question? If there are no
I'm
more
okay
Zoom
with it.
questions waiting. So you could see that I'm washed out right now. I have, yeah, at night when the sun goes down, this is what happens. I have a lot of monitors and I have to pretty much turn them all off. And if the speaker, so now I have 2 on Zoom, the speaker view, if the speaker view is bright, then I'm washed out again. And then I like using the other monitors, one for chat. So anyway, adding more light doesn't help.
What kind of camera are you using?
It is the 1080 Logitech.
Sounds like your automatic gain control might be set to manual or something, and it's it's not adjusting throughout the day.
Yeah, I don't think there's any controls on this camera. Should I get a different camera and be able to?
There's apps you can download.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a specific app. The easiest one, if that camera is a Logitech C920 or C930, one of those very ubiquitous ones, there's a separate app. The easiest one I found to use is called Logitech Camera Settings. It doesn't do a lot, but that's all you need.
And there's a second one, which is called LogiTune. LogiTune. This is a little bit more complicated, but you can achieve a lot with it.
That LogiTune is good. And also, are you on a Mac or a PC?
I'm
It's
on
both,
a
I believe.
PC, very fast. It's set up for trading. That's why I have, so many monitors. But I tell you, when we switched to Zoom, I was so happy. It makes being, teching for meetings like super easy. I have a separate monitor for everything, the chat, the participants list, my notes, the shared screen, the speaker view, the gallery view. It's really easy to see everything, but it makes me washed out at night.
So there's this idea in video of automatic gain control, and basically the camera decides on the circumstances of how much iris or virtual iris it needs. So if you have an application that allows you to access that and adjust it manually, you can just leave it, or you can say, you take care of it for me. I don't want to have to adjust it every time the lighting changes. So you have to make that decision for yourself.
All right, I will look for those apps. Thanks, guys.
All right, Joni, one more. If you want to try it right now, Zoom actually has a very little bit of a control when it comes to lighting. If you go into your settings and your video section, under my video, there is adjust for low light, and you can play around a little bit in there and see if it actually is fixed.
I'm going to uncheck it, see if you see a difference. Now it's unchecked. Now it's checked. And then when I check it, I have auto or manual. That's manual, right? Oh, there's a sliding bar, but that's max. This is minimum, but it doesn't, and then, with the PC, you could do night light, but it's only orange. And I don't even know what you guys see. If you see what I see, it makes it orange for me, but.
So that's another concept in video called white balance. And a lot of the tools they were talking about earlier, you hold up a white piece of paper and you tell it to auto white balance, or you can have it be manual and just do it occasionally. And that's a reference for your camera to know what white is, and then it calibrates other colors based on what it knows white is.
Okay, thanks. I will experiment with this. But since I'm living on Zoom so much, I guess I would get another camera. I would consider it if I need to, but I don't have a lot of fancy equipment.
I don't think you need another camera. You just need a way to control the camera you have right now.
Yes. Okay. Because it's, it's good. It's better than a lot of what I see in other participants on Zoom.
So Joni, I just pulled up, doing a little screen share or screen scraping of the Logitech camera, Logitech webcam. What the hell is it called? Excuse me, clean show.
Okay.
Logitech camera settings app. And under the advanced tab, it now gives you just a couple of sliders. So it allows you to adjust, autofocus, contrast, brightness. And this setting right here, this auto white balance, is the thing that if I turn it on or off, it will, I have basically some basic white balance and exposure controls through this app.
And even though mine is, I'm going to look 1080 webcam.
Yeah, I think it works with virtually all of the, and one of the ways you can find this is if you go to the Logitech support website and search for your camera, then it'll show you all the downloads available for your camera.
Oh, great. Okay. Thank you.
So it's 5 o'clock. If it's okay, I wanted to show a little trick that just became available. We for Zoom meetings. So in the office hours communities, we've talked about Video Pencil and the Shoot app that a member of our community has built. So he just released a let me bring it up here, an app. So Video Pencil essentially allows me to draw on top of anything using my iPad, right? So you can now see me, or actually, I'm not sure if you can. Let me get out of demo mode. So you can see me drawing. I hope you can see. Can you see that drawing? Yeah. Okay. So I'm basically drawing on my iPad and it's coming through. Now I'm using Ecamm to do that. But what he just created is a little app for your computer called Video Pencil Camera. And what this essentially does is it creates a webcam, a virtual webcam. So you have your camera plugged in here, and it's available in the App Store if anyone's interested. And you then connect this over NDI to the Video Pencil app on the iPad. So I've got, let me go ahead and bring you into that, and I can show you what that looks like. It's a 360, here we go. So I've got the app here on my phone, on my iPad. If I go up to the top here, I choose my sources, you'll see I've got Video Pencil Camera right there. If I choose that, it's gonna grab the NDI from my camera, pop it onto my iPad, and then I can, in Zoom, choose the Video Pencil Camera webcam as my webcam, and now I can annotate or telestrate, as it were, right in Zoom. So you have to buy the Video Pencil app in order for this to work, but then you just grab the little, I guess it's a plugin for your computer that allows you to create a webcam into a virtual webcam into Zoom, which is really nice. So if you don't have the full setup of OBS or Ecamm or anything like that, but you still want to telestrate and you have an iPad, and the brilliant thing about this whole app is that you can see what you're drawing on. That's the magic of it. You can see the camera on your iPad, and so you know exactly where you're drawing. So just a little something.
David, is there a jump when you cut from one camera to the other? It is, right? From your live camera to the Video Pencil thing.
In Zoom?
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's find out. So right now I've got, let me just spot myself. So right now I've got actually my Ecamm virtual camera coming in. Let me, hold on a second. All right, so I've got Video Pencil running. I think I do at least. And now I'm going to switch to Video Pencil Camera. In 3, 2, 1. Now I'm in Video Pencil Camera, and I can draw in it.
Interesting. We see a little switch, but only.
Yeah, I saw it too.
Yeah,
I'm going to switch back. In 3, 2, 1.
Oh, tiny.
Yeah, the
just
quality.
a little bit. Yeah.
quality,
There's a quality
suffers a
thing there.
little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a nice, it's a cool
Yeah, very
tool.
cool.
Yeah, the
Cool tool.
color switched a little bit, but that was
Yeah, it did.
that was just a little bit. I see Tony Mobley has his hand up too.
Oh my gosh, Tony, I'm so sorry. When you all have your cameras off and I don't have my participants panel open, I never know if someone has their hand raised. I'm so sorry. Tony, you still there?
Yes, I'm still here, David.
What's up?
So I've been playing with it since you and I were playing a little bit earlier.
Yeah, Tony and I were working on this earlier.
And I got it to work from the standpoint of I could see everything like it was supposed to be. But when I would write on the video, it would not come into the Zoom. I could see it on the iPad. I could see it on my multi-view out of the ATEM, but it wasn't actually showing in the Zoom.
Are you positive that you had the proper webcam chosen in Zoom?
Yes.
So I think that there must have been some sort of problem with your install of that little applet on your computer. That would, if I had to guess, that's what I would say, because I'm just not sure. I'm not sure why that would be.
Okay. I'm going to keep playing.
Yeah, Michael Forrest is the guy. He's in our Discord, and I mean, you know him very well. I don't have to tell you, but
yep.
Yeah. So.
Yep. I'm going to keep playing, David. Just
all right.
wanted to let you know.
Beautiful. All right, friends. So it's after 5, and I know that Jeff goes on forever, but I have a service I have to go lead in a few minutes. So I'm gonna thank you all for hanging out and learn so much. And Joni, so nice having you as a first timer. Please come back.
Oh, I will. This was really a lot of fun.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, my friends, have a lovely, lovely weekend. See y'all soon.
And you, David. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Bye.
Thanks, David.